Hi, this is Richard Murray. It's been a long time since I've done any parking lot theology, and because I almost got killed back in March in my other car, which is where I originally did the other recordings. But praise God, He protected me, and I'm alive. And every now and then some people ask, am I going to do these again? And I don't really have anything prepared right now, just to give praise to the Lord that He protected me through this accident. My ankle is still broken and healing, and I should be able to start walking on it in a couple of weeks if all goes well. But I'm driving now, so I figured I couldn't do any parking lot theology unless I was actually driving. So even though I'm not driving now, so go figure. But anyway, I want to thank you for your prayers. I know a lot of you prayed for me, and I so appreciate it. I feel like in a lot of ways this accident rebooted a lot of things in my life. You know, not that God caused it in any way, shape, or form, because maybe one day I could share some things about that, about how, you know, how things happen, and just the events leading up to it and all. And but for now, I just want to say that out of it, you know, God doesn't bring evil our way. And James 1 is pretty clear on that He doesn't tempt, test, try, or entice us. That word is periazo in James 1, 13 through 17. He doesn't bring us those things. He doesn't use evil to test or try or punish or chasten us, because only good comes from the Father of lights from above. So, but He does bring light into a situation, and He brought light into my situation, and I feel like I've sort of had a little bit of a renaissance, you know, just with some relationships and just with some attitude, and thankfully, praise God, I've lost some weight, and I wouldn't want to do it. It's called the broken rib diet, but no, even aside from that, the Lord's helped send some resolve my way with eating, and so things are going very well, and I just want to thank y'all for your prayers, because I know I have so many people ask me how I'm doing from time to time, and I appreciate it. It's been frustrating not to be able to walk, but I have a little scooter, and I know how to take a picture of the scooter, but I'm going to wait till I get rid of it, or when I'm about to get rid of it. and that way you can see what was my leg. That was my leg over the last few months. I did have one thing, really the only thing theological I wanted to share tonight, though, was just I've really been meditating, because I get a lot of questions on if Jesus defeated Satan at the cross, as Colossians 2:15 says that He did. Stripping, that, you know, that word in the Greek there is a military term meaning despoiling, disarming, and really the thing that it comes to mind is, you know, in those movies where you see the guy go up and rip off the medals off somebody. It kind of has that aspect, to where you take the enemy, you bring the enemy generals in, and you break their sword over your knee, and you rip off their badges of authority. And that's what Jesus did at Colossians 2:15 at the cross, and in the 3 days that followed that before His ascension, His glorious ascension to the right hand of the Father. So in what sense are we still in a spiritual battle then? Well, I think I was watching the Game of Thrones. I don't know if any of you are Game of Thrones guys, but I hope you are, because it's an awesome show. But at any rate, there was a great scene in the last week's Game of Thrones where a dashing hero called the Red Viper was fighting this evil, humongous, gargantuan guy who's just killed everybody. He's a rapist. I mean, he's just the nastiest guy you can imagine. But he's huge, and he's called the Mountain. So the Red Viper fights the Mountain, and he has a spear, and he's very graceful, and he's dodging him. The guy can't lay a hand on him, and he's just slashing him with a spear, and actually he's mortally wounded, because the Mountain actually dies from the wounds he got in this battle, and he was flat on his back, totally out. But the Viper got careless and neglectful, and he got near the Mountain, and the Mountain was able to make one last lurch, bring him down, put his hands around his throat, and you don't want to know how he killed him, but he killed him. And so all that by way of saying, I mean, we can look out in the world and see all sorts of evil out here. And I could give you a checklist, but you know, I think one of the two things we need to avoid about Satan is having a ostrich attitude, where we stick our head in the sand and say, no, Jesus is beating him, we don't have to worry about him and all that. But that can end up being an ostrich attitude, where you stick your head in the sand and don't deal with him. The other one is the Chicken Little syndrome, which is where you say Satan's behind everything, he's crashing everything to come down and all that, and you're frantic, and you're fearful, and you're insecure. So obviously those are the two ditches we want to avoid, and stay in the middle. And the middle is that, you know, Hebrews says, how shall we escape And I would just add to that parenthetically, how shall we escape the destructions of Satan if we neglect our so great a salvation? So the only thing that allows Satan destructions to still touch us is our neglect of our so great a salvation. Isn't that good news? I mean, we have a great salvation, and if we pay earnest heed to it, it will save itself and declare itself and conquer Satan and in all these many ways. He's flat on his back, mortally wounded, at least in terms of his power being able. His power is mortally wounded. Now, so the last metaphor I want to make about this is with a chain. Jesus chained all the demonic armies and principalities and powers. They're all on a chain. But what we do as the church is we either give slack to that chain and give it some slack so that the devils can still move around and try to do some damage, or we tighten that slack with our vigilant zeal and with our faith. We tighten that chain so that they can't move at all, so that they're completely immobile. So I think that's the only thing we're dealing with right now. It has to do with the chain. We either, our neglect puts slack into it and still lets them be able to maneuver to some degree, even though they are still disarmed, but they can still maneuver and tell lies and sow destructions, because there's too much destruction going out there in the world between cancers and mudslides and tsunamis and worldwide depression and teenagers cutting themselves. I don't want to get into all that, but y'all know that. You'd have to stick your head in the sand not to see that. So if we're going to get that defeated, then what we need to do is tight as the church, because Ephesians 1 says he's given all things are under his foot, but he's given all things to us, the church. So if we come in here corporately, individually and corporately, and keep these things underfoot, then these things will have no slack, and they'll have no room to do damage. And is that not why Ephesians says, give no place to the devil? In other words, give no slack to the chain of the devil. So, anyway, I hope that makes sense. I'm a little out of practice here, but again, thank you for your prayers. I love you, and I'm going to be trying to do these things again from time to time. Bless you.